Welcome to Soccer in 60, presented by the Empire Strikers. Get ready for your weekly look at all the pro soccer teams in Greater Los Angeles. We've got all the news and analysis you need, from LAFC and the LA Galaxy to the Empire Strikers, Angel City FC, and Orange County Soccer Club. Now, buckle up and enjoy Soccer in 60.
Welcome indeed to the fastest paced soccer show in SoCal. I'll tell you who this guy is in just a minute, but this is Soccer in 60, brought to you by SAC Health System, covering all the week's news, highlights, and more from LAFC, the Galaxy, Angel City, Orange County Soccer Club, and of course, the major arena soccer leagues, Empire Strikers. Hello and welcome. I'm your host, JR Liebert, affectionately known as The Scarf, and thanks so much for joining me on another absolutely jam-packed episode of Soccer in 60. This one live from BMO Stadium as we are covering the LAFC victory in their first round playoff match over Austin FC. First round's not done, though. It's best of three. Thanks, Commish. Once again, though, we are live from BMO Stadium, and I am joined by a gentleman who's been covering soccer in the Southland for decades, a friend of Soccer in 60 who's covered MLS from the beginning. You can find his work at socceramerica.com. Say hello to my good buddy, Scott French. Scott, welcome to the show.
Well, it's always nice to be here. I'm glad to be sitting beside you.
Absolutely, my man. Somebody who you've covered for quite a while. MASL Commissioner Keith Tozer is our interview, but let's check in with our friends over at Omnitrans in partnership with the Empire Strikers. Experience the thrill of game day with Omnitrans. Be in the heart of the action at Toyota Arena and let Omnitrans take care of the ride. Simply download the Transit app to catch your bus and enjoy a stress-free trip to cheer on the Strikers. Don't miss out on the excitement and make every moment count at Toyota Arena. Ride with Omnitrans to your next Empire Strikers game. We'll hit LAFC in just a minute, but let's talk Galaxy here for a little bit. A solid finish to the season. 2 victories in their final 2 MLS regular season matches. What does it mean that they were able to end the season? And we'll talk more big picture in a minute, but they were able to end the season on a little bit of a crescendo for them.
You know, and really, if you look at the latter half of the season, with including Leagues Cup and down the stretch, they showed that they were not the team that everyone kind of thought that they were, that they had the ability to do some stuff this year, despite all of the problems. I think it's a big thing for confidence, and especially going into next year. I think that they have a feeling that with Ricky Pooch back, that this is a team that can contend immediately, and they had players who really grew in this season, who, if everyone had been there and everyone had been healthy, perhaps would not have gotten the playing time to do so.
Yeah, you mentioned it. First 20 matches in all competitions, the 1 win over Herediano in the CONCACAF Champions Cup. 19 either losses or draws over that span. But since May 31st, that 2-0 win over RSL, 11 wins, 5 draws, 9 losses, a very good record, respectable record. And you mentioned it. The straw that stirs the drink wasn't there all season. Ricky Pooch, one of the truly special players in Major League Soccer. But they did have the reemergence of Joseph Paintsol, right? He went over to Ghana, played some matches for the Ghanaian national team, came back from that little knock that he had picked up. 9 goals in his final 12 matches, 5 goals in his last 4. Also looked great in Leagues Cup. Talk about the step forward that it looks like Joseph Paintsol took towards the end of the season.
Well, you know, I think Paintsol had a lot more responsibility without Ricky there, without Dejan Jovovic there, with Gabriel Peck having a difficult season. There's context to all of this. And I think that Joseph really stepped up and became kind of the man. I think that was a big thing for him. I think it's a big thing for the club going forward. But he also had to step up because of what was missing. And I think that was a real plus to see that, because in the system, the way it was played last year when they won MLS Cup championship, he was an important part, but he was a part, and he became a lot more than a part. He became kind of the go-to man this year. I think that's a big step for him.
Yeah, and he has that plus attribute, that speed of his, where he can get over the top anytime he needs to. So it was great to see Paintsol take a step forward. With exit interviews happening tomorrow, I know you're going to go down there. You're going to cover those exit interviews tomorrow. Let me ask you, a lot of players not under contract for next season. What do you expect with these exit interviews? Oftentimes teams then announce their intentions for the next season's roster, things like that.
Well, the nice thing is that most of the key players are back next year. They're signed through next year. The player who we're going to see, maybe not coming back is Diego Fagundes, who was this year's Galaxy MVP. He has an option, but that option is a little bit north of $1 million, and that's more than the Galaxy can really afford to pay that position. And at Diego's age, although he's still young, he's been in this league for so long that it's hard to believe that he's barely 30. That's a contract that will either have to be renegotiated or he's going to go somewhere where they're willing to pay the money. And that's the big question mark, because Diego was so important to this team this year. He was the guy who filled in wherever they needed it. And once they plugged him into a midfield slot next to Cerrillo, and then with either Marco Reus or Elijah Winder, mostly those two, as we went down the stretch, we saw the Galaxy midfield starting to come together. And that was such a key thing for them, because when you look at this season as a whole, it's really about what happened in midfield and what happened in midfield before the season began. It put them in a hole that they really had to rebuild from scratch. This was a year where you were not going to succeed in the usual ways. This is a season with very different context. And Diego kind of made the context of winning or of playing really well and having success kind of coincide with that greater context.
Knowing that there is a possibility to win a second MLS Cup, getting Ricky Puig back, I mean, he really does make them that much better. Do you think a player like Diego Fagundes takes a little bit of a cut and stays with Galaxy? I mean, he's got some history to make. He's 1 goal, 1 assist away from being only the third player, I think, ever in the 80-80 club in Major League Soccer, which is incredible. Does a player like that take a cut to stay on a team that could win? Or you mentioned it, he's only 30, but 15 seasons in Major League Soccer?
He's only got so many contracts left.
Right.
And you have to think about your future, and you have to think about your family. And I think that's something that he will think very strongly about. If there is interest, and there's interest in paying him a lot more than the Galaxy will, I think he's gone. You have to, you can't not be selfish when it comes to contract negotiations. You have to be thinking of yourself.
Yeah.
I think if all other things considered, and if the interest isn't that great that, hey, we'll give you $1 million plus, then I think it's a team that he would love to come back to.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, we'll see what happens after the exit interviews tomorrow. Follow Soccer America. Follow Scott on there. He'll tell you all about what happened in those exit interviews. A team that's not having their exit interviews, at least anytime soon, LAFC. You can see in the background, we are here at BMO Stadium. We both just watched the LAFC match from the press box. Before we get into the result, and it was at least a good result, 2-1 over a very game Austin FC. A couple of players signed back into the fold for next year in Nathan Ordaz and Ryan Hollingshead. First with Ordaz, just real quick, what it means for the club to have a homegrown academy kid sign a second contract. He's the first one of their homegrown signings, academy kids, to sign a second contract. And for him to perform the way that he did all season, and then obviously a precipitous goal that he tapped in, but it counted. He was onside. He didn't think he was at first. But talk about what Nate does mean to this organization.
Well, he means a couple of things. One, coming out of the academy, it's an example to the players in the academy of what you can accomplish here. Because being in the academy doesn't mean you're going to make it in the first team, and making it into the first team doesn't mean you're going to stay. And we've seen how many players who have come and then left because they just never rose to that level. We saw Nate this year just take a huge step forward, and we saw it very early. Yeah. You could tell he had spent the offseason really working on his game, working on his maturity.
In the weight room too, for sure.
Building himself up to last. I mean, an MLS season's a long season, and until you've gone through it, you have no idea what it's like to go through. And we just saw him become a mature player, a real professional. And I think that he was rewarded for that. And I think that that's big for everybody within the club, because you want, no matter how you're getting players from elsewhere, no matter that you're bringing in a Sonny, that you're bringing in a Porteous, that you're bringing in players like this from outside, You want to build players from within, and you want those players to rise and become regular players for you. And this is a selling league.
Yeah.
You want to be able to develop these players so that you can send them on to something bigger and better when the time comes.
And for a 21-year-old kid to have the perspective that he does, he said it in the press conference tonight, right? This club can buy any player that they wanted. That was from his mouth, not ours. He knows a Sonny is going to take a playing time away. Giroud, Cengiz Under, he mentioned all of these names.
Yes, he did.
For him to still have that presence of mind too shows the maturity. A player who we know obviously has the maturity, an MLS veteran, Ryan Hollingshead, extended through 2027. To have a player, he had played 222 matches, I believe, with FC Dallas before coming here. Now he's going to cross the 200-match threshold likely with LAFC. To have his leadership, his voice, not just on the pitch, right, but in the locker room, at practice, at training, bringing back a guy like Hollingshead, what does that mean?
Well, the other thing with Ryan is the character. This is a club that has always emphasized character of the players that they bring in, and Ryan's one of the best. Anyone who deals with him you just love him as a person. Ryan is the consummate professional. He's got a great outlook on things. He's positive. He's just a wonderful person in the locker room. He's a wonderful teammate. People want to be around him, and that is so big in creating a family, because teams that succeed are families.
Yeah.
Chemistry is so important in this game. And he's one of the guys who builds that.
And we talk about those two players because I don't think two players had a big of an impact on this last match against Austin. Hollingshead with the cross that becomes an own goal. Nathan Ordaz with the tap in that we can argue would have been a goal either way. But you see the two players who signed contracts immediately paying dividends. The hard part for LAFC this match seemed to be Austin continuing to stay in that low block, even though they went down a goal, and then obviously coming back to level things in that low block. Winning a match like this for LAFC, when Sonny doesn't score, when Denis doesn't score, when Austin stays in that low block, what did a victory like this show for LAFC moving forward in these playoffs?
Well, it's a good victory, but it also showed some shortcomings in that this was a team that had its chances to get a second goal and had chances to get that before halftime, and really did not get that job done. And that's going to come back and bite you. And we saw it did when Austin came back and equalized. They got a nice goal at the end, one that they were fortunate that Nathan was onside.
Right.
As he said, I wasn't so sure I was onside.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But it's you need more players making big impacts than just your stars. This is, if all you have are stars who are doing it, you're ultimately going to fail. You're going to fall at some level, because right now in these playoffs, every team you're playing is good. It's good within the context of MLS. It's good at this level. Some of them are great, especially when if you go up against a team like San Diego, which is a team, which is not a team of stars, no matter how big Anders Dreyer has become, no matter what Chucky Lozano can do when he's at his best. Teams like Seattle, who, don't count them out, even though they're down. That's a team that plays as a team. Those are the teams that are difficult to beat once you get to the playoffs. And the more people you have who can contribute, the better chance you have.
Well, let me ask you about a player who didn't get a chance to even contribute today because he didn't get on the pitch. What does it say about David Martinez that Nathan Ordaz, who has gone in front of him in terms of minutes, in terms of spot on the field, he was heralded as the most talented prospect potentially to ever even come out of Venezuela, right? The kid's all the talent in the world, but now he's fallen behind Nate. He's really had a difficulty breaking through. What's David Martinez feeling right now?
Well, that's a good question. And I don't know that any of us really know.
Right.
The thing is, especially as a young player, you're going to have your ups and downs. You're going to have times when you're really ascending, and you're going to have times where everything seems to be a struggle, or where you don't feel you're getting the time that you deserve, or that things just aren't coming together for you. And we've seen a lot of change in LAFC this second half of the season. Sonny coming in.
Yeah.
That Sonny coming in.
There you go.
Sonny coming in really transformed this team into something else. And they found that going with two forwards was better than having the third winger. That cost David a lot. I think David still has all the ability in the world, I think he's a player who is going to continue to mature and has that ability to become a very special player for this team. But it's not just going to be handed to you. You have to go out there and work to get it, and you've got to deal with the circumstances. And going through this is not a bad thing. You need to learn how to deal when things are not going your way. You need to learn how to be a team player in those situations and how to propel yourself so that you are in position to step up and be the man when called upon. And I think that's one of the things David has to advance with.
Well, I'll tell you, Scott, going through this was a wonderful thing. Thank you so much for coming on Soccer in 60. This is Scott French. If you're not tuning into his stuff on socceramerica.com, make sure you check him out. He's been covering soccer in the Southland for longer, I think, than I've even been alive. So it's a legend here in the Southland. So thank you so much, Scott. Appreciate you.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here, Jared.
Absolutely. We're going to cut to our interview with MASL Commissioner Keith Tozer, an incredible interview with Philly, the voice of the Empire Strikers, and Gunner, the PR guy for Empire as well. So cut to that interview. It's a fantastic interview with Keith and Philly and Gunner. Thank you again, Scott.
Thank you.
Our guest is a giant of North American indoor soccer. A former midfield, he starred in the Major Indoor Soccer League and the American Indoor Soccer Association before transitioning into an executive career that has shaped the sport at every level. As commissioner of the Major Arena Soccer League since 2021, he's overseen expansion, enhanced professional standards, the creation of a second and third tier, the launch of a women's MASL pathway, several player combines, and innovations in video review and league operations. It's an honor to have with us Mr. Keith Tozer. Commissioner, welcome to Soccer in 60.
Thanks, Christian. Good to see you, Gunner.
Hey,
love
good
the
to see
show.
Mucho
Appreciate
gusto. The 2025-26 MASL schedule features an 8-team slate down from the 12 last season. Most prominently, the defending champion Chihuahua Savage will not be defending its title. What was the strategic thinking behind this configuration, and how do you expect it to affect the competitiveness across the league?
Well, for the last several years, we've been talking about professional standards. And at our league meeting in September in Kansas City, we were doing just that, talking about professional standards. Chihuahua decided that they wanted to not play this coming season. It wasn't something that we asked for. It kind of shocked us a little bit, but it's difficult to only have one team down in Mexico. So that was that. Harrisburg had an issue with their arena, so they went to Hershey now and will play in M2 this season. And of course, Dallas and Texas had their own issues. But if you look forward to this coming season, 8 teams will battle. We'll have a new champion this year. And I have to say that Chihuahua was a fabulous champion the last 3 years, but we'll have a new champion this year. I think all 8 teams have a great shot at it, and it should be very exciting.
Mm-hmm. Now, you mentioned before the strengthened professional standards that are also referenced in the notes from the recent MASL member meeting. Can you give a bit more insight on what new standards teams are now expected to meet in areas such as arena amenities, staffing, broadcast capability, or anything else that you consider important?
Well, we really feel that our television broadcast is extremely important. So the league went out and bought encoders for all the different teams so that there won't be any delays, there won't be any glitches. I mean, obviously, Golasso has been a great partner of ours last year with 40 regular season games and the playoffs. But we want to make sure that whatever building we go into, we're going to provide the best possible broadcast with the best possible on-air talent. I think we did that. That was like a really key thing for this coming season. If you look at the playing surface itself, the sport was born in 200 by 85 feet. We do understand that there's some smaller fields, but there should be a minimum and maximum. We like basic regular boards, not plastic boards. So really what we're trying to do is provide safety for our players and coaches and referees and provide the best possible playing area that we can for the teams. And that's what we're going to do moving forward. Even the professional standards will even go to the front offices where you have to have a certain amount of people in certain positions. So I think we're like really set up now, pointing in the right direction for the next wave of new teams that are coming in.
Mm-hmm. Now, there are no, you mentioned a few changes. There are no rule or game protocol changes slated for this upcoming season. What drove the decision to maintain rule stability, and how does that help teams and officials prepare for 25-26?
Whoa, it's been a crazy 3 years with rule changes. The first thing we did when we came in was did the goalkeeper rule. And we had a couple interns take 3 games and counted how many times the ball came through the goalkeeper. I think you guys probably know it was over 100 times. So we made that rule change. I mean, I even had one coach call me if I knew you were making a change. I would have got better players, which I couldn't understand that comment. People thought there'd be more injuries, which I didn't understand that comment. And really, that change in the rule has really helped the game. Players have really adapted to it. Coaches have been obviously great with it. The goalkeepers are going forward with it. I think it's great. Then we came up with other ones, the coin toss, which is minimal, but it has some bearance to it. The injury rule from last season, which I thought was great, right? If you're down more than 15 seconds, set off for 2 minutes. If you don't get to the penalty box in 15 seconds, you get a yellow card. So I think over the course of the last 3 seasons, with the help of Ryan Si60 and the referees, the help of the competition committee, the help of all the coaches, feedback from all their players, I think we're at a place right now where we didn't have to tinkle with it at all this year. So I think it's great. Will it be something else will pop up? Evolution of sports. Look at the NFL with its kickoff, right? Changing every year. And in baseball, somebody on second base in the extra innings. But I think the game is great. I think we're at a place where we want to be at, and we're ready to go for this coming season.
While we're on the subject of the rules of the game, obviously crucial to those are the individuals who enforce them. With referring back, with refereeing being core to consistent competition, what investments has the league made in referee training, recruitment, or oversight to improve officiating quality across the different tiers of the MASL?
Yeah, Philly, great question. A lot of people don't see it because maybe they look at the game in a 30,000-foot view. But the first year we came in, stuff like a referee would give a 2-minute card. And what would the player do right away?
Argue,
complain. So the referee would stand there and listen to it. And then the referee would slowly walk towards the penalty box. And what were the players doing when they were walking to the penalty box? Complaining. No, they were complaining when you put him into the penalty box. And what is that time frame from the time the whistle blew to the time the whistle blew to get the game go back again? So right now, what we did was speed up the game where the referees right now give a two-minute blue card and they take off, and the players now have to take off. I think we really gave a lot of great tools to Ryan Si60, the head of referees, and also to all the referees in order to manage the game better. By the way, they got fitter. They had more seminars. I think they've done a wonderful job in the last 3 or 4 years. Similar to commissioner. When you make a decision, one team likes it, one team doesn't like it. Referees, they make a call, right, Gunnar? One team likes it, one team doesn't like it. But I think the big key word in refereeing is to be consistent. If the referee comes in the game and he's going to hold his whistle and it's going to be a physical game, don't wait till the fourth quarter and then pull back a little bit. Maybe the following game, he calls it a little bit tougher because you have a Milwaukee against Baltimore, which is a great rivalry. It's going to be physical from the beginning, and referees have to be prepared to walk into that kind of environment and ref and manage the game accordingly. So, again, I'm really, really proud of the referee program, and I know it's only going to get better. I mean, that's why we brought in VR, and we continue to keep doing little improvements on that program.
Now, the MASL operates with 3 tiers on the men's side, M1 through 3, as well as the women's division, MASLW. And I got to see this firsthand at the Combine for the first time. How do you envision movement of clubs and players between these tiers operationally in the next few years?
Well, it's been fantastic to get almost all the brands of indoor soccer in North America underneath the MASL banner. That was one thing that we really wanted to do. I think we're at 75 to 76 teams between M1 and MW. There is talk about between M3 and M2 promotion. So the team that wins the championship in M3 will then go to M2. We're talking about promotion between M2 and M1 in the business model. Okay, not so much if you won the championship. Do you pass the litmus test? Does your owner have the financial capabilities? Do you have the big enough arena? Do you have the professional standards? Do you have the team to compete at that level? But there's definitely been talk between M1, M2, and M3 about that. Plus the synergy. When we go to MITRE, we can say the MITRE is the official ball of the entire MASL, which is really cool. And then as well as the MW. And speaking of MW, the combine this year was great, but having the women there made it even better. I mean, I thought it was fantastic. I thought the game was at a high level. And the women's sports, not only indoor soccer, but all women's sports around the world is growing as it should be. And we cannot be more excited about maybe a Premier League, professional league for the women sooner than later.
Now, Commissioner, the MASL recently awarded expansion teams, not a team, but teams on the women's and the men's side to the Sacramento, Northern California region for both the MASL and the MASLW to debut at a brand new arena in 2027. What were the key criteria the league used to evaluate that market and the proposed arena up there?
From the first moment I met Josh and Charlie, which are the two main owners of Sacramento, they were young people like yourselves who are so passionate about the game, so intelligent, thinking outside the box, computer people, experience in real estate. I mean, when I first met them, they kind of blew me away and then blew the owners away. I thought it was great. Their vision, building a new arena. And speaking of building a new arena, you have Utica that owns their own arena. So that's great, right? But that's been a building that's been there. Actually, I think it was designed or after Madison Square Garden. Philly, you'd probably know that better than me. Then all of a sudden you got
Raptors, absolutely.
Yeah, it looks cool. Then you got the San Diego Sockers. Phil Savaggio built his arena in Oceanside for indoor soccer as well as other events. I think that's the beginning. And now you got Sacramento, which is going to be doing the same thing. I really think there's a niche for 6,500 to 10,000 seat arena that can be either in the city, but probably in the suburbs, that people don't want to drive all the way downtown. They want to be able to see a sporting event, maybe a concert, maybe some other kind of event. And that's what Sacramento is doing. They're going to have 3 hotels. They're going to have condominiums. They're going to have a shopping mall. They're going to have a beautiful building. I think they're the beginning of the new domino, similar to what Major League Soccer did, right? Major League Soccer dropped 2 teams. That was a lateral movement, which we feel we did, not a step backwards, but a lateral movement in order to spring forward. And I think this is the beginning of the new wave.
Mm-hmm. Now, you touched earlier on the combine. I want to come back to that for a second. As you said, it included M1 through 3 plus for the first time MASLW. In your view, how effective have these combines been in the past as a player pipeline, and what changes did you make this year to even better serve both the men's and the women's pathways?
Well, as most people know in the league, I'm very passionate about the combine. I think it's wonderful to give young people the ability to make their dreams come true. And now that this year we brought the women in, I think is amazing. I think the one thing that some people didn't understand is that they thought that there was going to be players that just fell out of the trees and we'd have 15 diamonds in the rough. We knew that this was a long journey. We knew it wasn't just the player combine. Philly's been to it where the coaches are working together. They're exchanging ideas. The referees are having their combine also where they're working on the young referees with the older referees. We got Capelli, who's a great sponsor of it, and MITRE, our official ball. It was more of a content where the league could sell because every sport has a combine. Football's got one, baseball's got one, MLS has one. So really, I thought M2, M3, and MW, which kind of took the boots by the straps this year and carried this thing forward with Brian Cushing, with Josh Auden, with Chris Economides, with our league office, Lindsay, JP, John Raymond, everybody else, Jack and Ken, Philly, Eddie Buscarich. This was all 4 brands coming together across 4 different leagues going in the same direction to give young people young men and women the dream of playing in the MASL. And the coolest thing, Gunnar and Philly, and by the way, Philly called 3 state games, which I don't know how he did it, which is an amazing job. To watch these combine players come in and see an Obasi, a coach from Empire, to see Stefan Stokic, to see Everton, to see Ian Bennett, to see Frank Marco Fabian, and then actually to play with them or play against them. Let me tell you, our league should be extremely proud of what that combine did, and will only get bigger and better.
Now, speaking of which, we kind of touched on this moments ago, and you talked about how I called the 3 games. The women's game in the combine was the one that really set the standard, because that was an exciting game. So I want to talk a little bit about the women. The growth of the women's game was highlighted, obviously, by the MASLW combine and by an expansion team being awarded in that Sacramento, Cordova region. What are the league's short and medium-term objectives for the growth of MASLW? Like, for instance, do you have a target in terms of teams, broadcast distribution, commercial partnerships, anything of the sort?
Well, that's one of the big things that drove Sacramento to the table, was not only the men's team, but they really, really wanted the women's team, which is pretty cool. I think a premier team, if we had to say right now, we could start as low as 6 teams. I mean, we don't have to come out of the box and have 8, 12, 14, 16 teams. I think if we have 6 to 8 teams in our first season as a pro league, I think that would be fabulous. If you remember, in 1978, there were 6 teams in the major indoor soccer league. And those 6 teams did really well before moving forward. Major League Soccer, I believe, had 10 teams in their first couple years. So I think if we can get 6, maybe at the most, Philly and Gunnar, 8 the first year of the Premier League, I think it'd been fantastic. And by the way, what a pipeline. I mean, the pipeline of young women that are playing soccer and futsal and indoor soccer in this country, it's unlimited, the amount of talent. And by the way, I think it's going to help the U.S. women's national team, even though they're fantastic and one of the top in the world. I think you're going to find players that are going to come through the indoor game that are going to be exposed to teams outdoor. And you're going to find that they're going to be big stars coming from our indoor teams.
100%. I mean, we've already saw some of those big stars represented on the turf. Thinking of Nano Oroños for in particular for the U.S. Played at Cal State Fullerton. Also has an academy where she teaches girls how to play the indoor game, futsal and beach. So you're 100% right in that factor. Now, let's get back to the top division of the men's side for a moment. The league has emphasized advancement, and you mentioned it earlier, in video review and broadcast technology. Are there specific upgrades or broadcast integrations fans can expect for this upcoming season?
Well, the biggest upgrade is going to be experience, right? When we first brought out VR, people wanted to have it that if a coach threw the flag and won the challenge, he'd get it back. We said we're not ready for that yet. It might be a year or 2. Then after a year or 2, we said, you know what? The coaches and referees, as well as the media and the fans and whatever, I think are ready for that. So then we added. I think just having the program going into its 4th year, I think is just going to make it better. I think with the encoders and the equipment at the 8 buildings that we have in M1, I think it's going to make it better. I think miking our referee, our head referee, similar to NBA, NHL, and Major League Soccer, to communicate to the entire arena what the call is going to be. I think that's going to be an addition that I think is going to really help things out. So I think when you add all of that together, it's really going to make a great program. We're not here to re-referee the game. We're just here to give a tool to the teams as well as the referee program to get it right. That's it.
Mm-hmm. Now, switching gears just a little bit, the MASL recently launched its own online store on its website, maslsoccer.com, for fans to pick up their favorite merch, league and team merch. Can you talk a little bit about what role having a centralized platform like that plays in your revenue and brand strategy going forward?
Gosh, we talked about that from day one, Shep, JP, myself, John, and everybody else, is that every sport has an online store, and we need to give all the fans in our league, as well as staff and whoever else, the ability to buy MASL gear. We have 4 teams that are Capelli driven, and that's Utica, Milwaukee, Empire, and
Kansas City.
Kansas City and Kansas City. So you could buy the KC and those teams stuff in the store, but you also can buy MASL branded hoodies and sweatsuits and T-shirts. It's only going to expand. We love to get Miter the Ball up on there. They're going to add the women program here shortly, so women can buy the gear out there. But it was really important. And by the way, Capelli's been a great partners with us. They sponsored the player combine. They sponsored last year's All-Star game, and they're a major partner and player with their online store. And I see as the season goes on that the store is really good, really going to be great. And, stuff like coming around the holidays, we can do stuff like let's get would be a player in Kansas City. Let's get Nacho to sign an autographed jersey, Capelli, and put it up on the store. So people could buy autographed jerseys. So we're thinking about a lot of marketing ideas that we can do with the store, but it's the first one we've ever had. I think it's going to be great for both Capelli as well as our owners.
Mm-hmm. Now, last season, coming back to the broadcast side of things real quick, last season, the MASL, as you mentioned, aired about 40 games on CBS Sports Golazo Network, giving fans access nationally to the highest level of indoor soccer. In addition, obviously, to lots of games being streamed internationally on YouTube and other platforms. Are there any updates today that you can give folks on, where conversations might be standing in terms of broadcast partners for this upcoming season, or when an announcement might take place?
Well, JP Della Camera, who's the legend of outdoor soccer on television, he's been riding this train with television. He's done a great job. He brought Colosso to the table. He doesn't have another media partner, which I can't say yet. We'll be announcing that soon. It's kind of Gunnar. It's kind of like, where are you not going to be able to see the game at? I think Jeff Burham, the president of the executive committee, and his team out at Empire, they just came back from Sportel, which is a big convention out in Monaco. A lot of people are interested in their game. When you're not talking about butts in seats, you're talking about eyes on the screen. And that's really important, that as we grow butts in seats tickets, that we get as many people to watch the game as we can through everywhere. I'm sure we're going to be on our MASL TV YouTube station. Golazo will be back, but there is another major announcements coming. So we're really looking forward to it. And speaking about television, JP started as a ticket salesperson with the Pittsburgh Spirit and then grew into where he is today. I was a player at the time, and that's when I first met JP. We got so many talented on-air people now in the MASL that you're going to see other networks take. I'm not saying this because Philly's sitting right there, but he's sitting right there. He did the TST soccer, then he did the TST basketball. We got Joey in St. Louis doing MLS games, I believe, on the radio. You got so many other people around our league that we got great on-air talent in each of the 8 markets that people are going to be able to tune in each week. So bringing the quality of the broadcast with the excitement of indoor soccer and them bringing it to you live, I can't tell you how excited I am for 25-26.
That makes 2 of us, and with Gunnar, that makes 3 of us, and everybody else listening to this podcast, that makes thousands of us. Commissioner, again, thank you so much for your time today. We'd really love to have you on, giving like a State of the Union from time to time if you're up for it. But congratulations on all the successes thus far, and looking forward to connecting with you as the season begins here in a couple of weeks.
Well, I want to just say that I love your show. I want to say thanks to all the fans that have supported indoor soccer over the years. I look forward to seeing all the fans as I come around to the different arenas this year, because I am going to come to the arenas I haven't been to. And again, it's the best, what do you call it, the best sport on turf, Philly?
Greatest show on turf.
There you go. Gunnar, Christian, thank you, buddy.
Thank you so much, Commissioner. Appreciate the time.
Fantastic interview with MASL Commissioner Keith Tozer, and through the magic of the internet, look at this. Actually, it's over here. There we go. I got the right side. It's my good buddy, Timmy K. Tim, welcome back to Soccer in 60. It's good to have you back, my friend. We got some fun stuff to talk about. We got Angel City to talk about, Orange County Soccer Club. But before we do, let's check in with our good friends over at National Core. National Core is one of the nation's largest nonprofit affordable housing developers and a proud sponsor of your MASL team, the Empire Strikers. At National Core, they believe that soccer has the power to transform lives just like they do. They believe in building strong communities on and off the field. And to learn more about National Core and their mission, head on over to nationalcore.org. Timmy, it's good to have you on, my friend.
JR, man, it's great to be here, buddy, on this spooktacular week of Soccer in 60, man. I got my Halloween shirt on. We're good to go today, baby.
Absolutely. Let's talk some Angel City. And I want to lead with something first, Tim. ACFC attendance. ACFC attendance averaging somewhere in the 19,000s for their first 3 years in NWSL, 19,300 last season. But this season has been a little bit of a different story. On a Monday win over Bay FC, they drew 15,000. On a Thursday draw to the Spirit, they drew 15,000. And on a Monday loss to the best team in the league, Kansas City Current, they drew 11,147. Also less than 16,000 for a match over Houston Dash. Only San Diego and Portland average anywhere near 19,000. So it's still good numbers, whatever Angel City is drawing. But let me ask you, what is there to read into this significant drop-off in attendance over these last 5, 6, 7 home matches?
Well, I think a lot of it is the inconsistency as to when these games are. You mentioned it, Thursday. You mentioned it, Monday. A Monday night in LA.
Yeah.
When, still got a ton of people working from home. But I tell you what, you got a whole ton of people in downtown LA, and to get to BMO on a Monday night, that's pretty difficult. And so that, I think, is playing a lot into it. And you're fighting for airtime with all of the teams in LA. But 11,000 on a Monday for the best team in the league to come into your house, they got to do better on that. They got to be putting 17, 18,000 in for that type of game.
Yeah, and it's funny, the issue seems to be, well, they want to get on the CBS Golazo network, or they want it to be on a larger platform, but you have to wonder, does putting it on a Monday, a Thursday, a Tuesday, if you're having to, it's not flipping through the TV guide anymore, it's going through your streaming and seeing when these clubs are playing, but it's got to be difficult to set up your watch schedule, right? I think you're absolutely right that it really does affect the product.
And it does. And whether it's on Golazo or Lifetime or, ESPN 15, you got to be on the same channel, because then you'll be able to watch the game. Then you'll be able to TiVo the game, right? And watch it again, which all counts in the ratings. But I think the reality is that you've got to pick some days to get on a consistent basis here, especially here in LA, but across the league, they got to figure that out to get these type of people in the seats in the stadium.
And it'll be interesting to see, too, what the crowd looks like in Chicago for their final home match. We're talking about Chicago Stars, who have had a rough year, but former Chicago star Kristen Press coming back into the building. So we'll see what it looks like there. We'll see what it looks like the final away match of the season. Obviously, Angel City, unfortunately, eliminated in the playoffs, but they'll be heading to Chicago. And look, it'll be a homecoming, a farewell to Kristen Press. So we'll see. Look, one of the other big stories that dropped, not just for Angel City, but for NWSL as a whole, was Elizabeth Eddy's New York Post op-ed that dropped just a day or two ago. And let's be clear, we are two heterosexual males talking about a very nuanced, very difficult topic and story. Right. Elizabeth Eddy's op-ed in the New York Post called for a clear standard for gender eligibility, proposing that, among other things, NWSL players must be born with ovaries or potentially submit to gene testing or other gender verification. She also cited some recent controversies in world sports, namely track and field and swimming, policy changes from governing bodies like World Athletics and England's Football Association. And she stated that she's concerned that without clarity about who the league is for, it will lose its identity and its momentum. Now, we can debate 7 ways from Sunday, all the different nuances of what she wrote in that op-ed, but what really seems to be the most concerning thing that has come out of this for many who follow NWSL as a league as a whole is that NWSL has not had a policy concerning gender eligibility of its players for 3 years. And largely, Commissioner Jessica Berman has remained silent on the matter. According to The Athletic, the NWSL currently has no players who identify as trans, but that doesn't affect the overall tenor of a lack of a response from Jessica Berman and the NWSL as a whole. Now, in ACFC's statement, they said, in response to an op-ed published on October 27th, we want to make it clear that while we respect the right for an individual to express their opinion, it does not reflect the opinion of an entire organization. Since our founding, Angel City has remained committed to equity, inclusion, and belonging, and these principles will always guide how we show up for our team, fans, and community. And we know Angel City has had a history of having to address these kind of issues. In 2022, Katie Cousins reposted a story to her Instagram in which the Tampa Bay Rays pitcher Jason Adam posted some anti-same-sex relationship sentiments after refusing to wear a rainbow-colored logo on his uniform as his baseball team, the Tampa Bay Rays, celebrated Pride Night. And I think the biggest spotlight that this puts on the NWSL is squarely on Jessica Berman. She has to be able to cultivate a policy that both adheres to what the teams in the league want for the league and is also the accepting, inclusive policy that the NWSL, and to be perfectly honest, Angel City has put at the forefront for their entire time as a club. Look, we're not going to give our opinions on the topic, but I think the important thing to note is this: Jessica Berman, for the last 3 years, that's the hole that you have left so that these players can explore these type of opinions with their thoughts. So it's really incumbent upon Jessica Berman and NWSL as a whole to address this immediately if they can. All right, there's no easy way to segue from that, but let's talk about Orange County Soccer Club. Look, it was a fantastic evening at the Champ. I mean, Tim, a 2-1 victory versus Indy 11, massive 3 points, and it's Scylla once again at the death.
Yeah, unbelievable. If you watch this come in, and he did this in the last game too. Scylla comes in the 69th minute as a late sub in the second half. And the entire lead up to this goal is just magical. They trade out a bunch of guys. They got a big giant, they sub in like 4 guys right at this thing between the two teams. And it's a free kick for Orange County. Goes right down to the box, right where it should be. And Scylla does his magic again. Goes to the right, goes to the right, goes to the right. You think he's going to be in the parking lot by the time he shoots this ball. But he puts this thing in the back of the net. And as the commentators are speaking about trying to find the game winner, he finds the game winner in the 91st minute. It was just magical. And the sold out show at the Champ just went bonkers.
And listen, lots of drama set up by a very solid first half for both sides. Vuklatinovic gets one, 23rd minute or so. By the way, off of a beautiful cross by a friend of the show, Chris Hagart, who we've had and who is absolutely fantastic. But Indy 11 leveling before halftime and everything to play for in those final 45. And they had thought they had wrapped it up in the 88th, right? They had this offside goal, but it was Scylla again. So let me ask you a question now. Over these last couple of matches, we've seen the emergence of Ousmane Scylla. What does that mean for Orange County as they begin their playoffs, by the way, on the road at Sacramento Republic, Sunday, November 2nd, to have a player like Scylla step up towards the end of the season? What does that mean for players like Ethan Zubak and for some of these other guys who have had the pressure now maybe taken off of them by this emergence?
Yeah, it just proves that a guy like Scylla can come in and do exactly that. Mohamedou Ward doesn't have to do it. Leading goal scorer for Orange County and 4th in all of USL with Ethan Zubak with 11. He doesn't have to score every game. And these type of players that'll come in and take that pressure off of the stars, as it were, of Orange County is just great, because now you can have a kid like Nico Ben-Alcazar or Mohamedou Ward or Bryce Jamison feel much more comfortable when they do run up that sideline. go and push the attack, that they've got coverage in the back and that they're going to be able to get some goals, and they're not going to have to worry about Ethan freaking out and trying to score 5 goals every game.
And looking at the other side of the coin, Orange County limiting Indy 11 to just 3 shots on target, only 2 saves needed. Unfortunately, it wasn't shutout Schuttler that we saw there. But look, if you're going to give up 1, you're giving your club a chance every single time. What does it mean that Orange County, they endured 22 fouls, fought off 5 corners, that type of a physical effort from Indy 11, Orange County able to play through that, find the match winner. What does that mean as we're looking ahead now to another team that is very, very physical in Sacramento Republic?
Yeah, and Orange County has dealt with this the entire season. Every time we look at the stat sheet, it's 24 against, 25 against, 21 against, 19, 7 yellow cards in a match earlier this season between the 2 teams. When you go and play a team like Sacramento, as you mentioned, that is very, very physical, Scarf, what you're able to do coming off of that high is build on that momentum and go in to Sacramento Republic, who is great at home. They're very good on the road too. But Sacramento has only lost 1 game the entire season at home, and it was the last one this past weekend when it didn't matter because they were in second place and they were locked in.
Yeah.
But to go up there and know that it's going to be a physical game when you've endured it, not only this last match, but all season long, I think it gives them the edge.
Yeah, and look, it's been a difficult season with Orange County Soccer Club and Sacramento. And by the way, you might be getting some of that beautiful ambient noise as they actually vacuum the field behind me here at BMO Stadium. Orange County Soccer Club defeated Sacramento Republic at home 2-1 on April 12th. They defeated Sacramento Republic at home 1-0 in June as part of the USL Cup, but they lost to Sacramento Republic, like you mentioned, up at Heart Health Park in Sacramento, October 1st. So we'll see the final match between this 4-game series now from Sacramento Republic and Orange County. In a bit of an homage to our MASL club, the Empire Strikers, instead of a best 11 this week, we've got an Elite 6 with just 2 clubs in action, and our Elite 6 looks pretty fantastic. It's Hugo Lloris in net for LAFC for his performance against Austin. Vuk Latinovic, Ryan Porteous, and Ryan Hollingshead for their performances for Vuk against Indy 11, and then, of course, Porteous and Hollingshead for theirs against Austin. Chris Hagart for his performance against Indy 11 is our midfielder. And at forward, no kidding, we've got Son Heung-min. He's wearing the captain's armband, but that's Porteous pictured there just in case that is not what Sonny looks like. Let me ask you, first and foremost, Chris Hagart, again, providing an assist, providing that rock-solid midfield that we've come to expect day in and day out, match in and match out from him. A player like that for OCSC, what can he mean during this playoff push?
I think he's the heart of this team. You know, we talk about Schuttler, you know, in net. We talk about Zubek up top, but Chris Hagart is really, truly the heart of this team. And as he goes, so will Orange County. And if he has a good playoff run, the Sacramento Republic could be crying in their Cheerios on Sunday morning.
Yeah, and that's exactly what all of the County Boys faithful want, absolutely, as they head up to Sacramento. Look, we've talked ad nauseum about Hugo Lloris and Sonny throughout the course of the season, but a player who has really emerged on the back line for LAFC, Ryan Porteous, coming over late in the transfer window for LAFC, and what his defensive leadership now has meant. Obviously, Aaron Long going down, a tough player to replace, but getting that type of a response from Ryan Porteous, who now looks like he's been with the club all season, this is a player who can help carry you through some of those difficult matches in MLS playoffs.
For sure, Scarf. To be able to plug somebody like Ryan in, like he got plugged in, was money for LAFC. To have him be a stalwart, he kind of fit in like Sonny did with Bawanga, like immediately. It took him a couple extra games. Yeah. But to be able to have a guy like Ryan back there on that defense, shoring up that whole group has been great for LAFC. And what it does is it just proves that the coaching that he's had before and the coaching that he's getting with LAFC is just bringing out every ounce of his best on a week-to-week basis, and LAFC has reaped the rewards in spades.
Yeah, and hopefully a player who will have back in black and gold for a couple more seasons, a player who we know will be back in black and gold for a couple more seasons. We talked about this with Scott, was Ryan Hollingshead. So it's good to see Ryan appear on the score sheet. And what we like tonight, too, especially here at BMO Stadium as we were covering it, the offensive game that Ryan Hollingshead brings to the table from that outside back position. We saw him basically responsible for the assist on the own goal, but it's him putting the ball in dangerous positions. We've talked about his lack of finishing these last couple chances that he's had on the doorstep, but to have a player like Ryan Hollingshead back in the fold, a UCLA kid back here for LAFC through 2027. It was interesting, by the way, no team option or anything after 2027. So he's going to have to get back to the drawing board. But he mentioned it in the press conference, what it meant to be able to shore it up and to be able to go into these playoffs for sure with a clear mind that he knows now what is going to happen for the remainder of the season. Timmy, we had a fantastic interview, of course, with Keith Tozer. It was always great to have the MASL commissioner on. And while there might have not been as many matches this season, it's been this week. It was still a fun week with soccer in the Southland. Again, this is Soccer in 60, brought to you by SAC Health System. And I just want to remind everybody out there, head on over to YouTube. Make sure you're subscribing to the YouTube channel. Make sure that you're subscribing to the podcast on all your different podcast platforms. And make sure you're checking out everything for our good friend Scott French over at socceramerica.com. Timmy, it was great to have you back for the latter half of our show, my friend. Let's get back together and do this again next week. What do you say?
Sounds like a deal to me, Scarf. And if you're not doing anything Saturday night, head on down to the rinks down at the Champ, just steps from the Champs, man. Go see the watch party.
Sounds good. This again has been Soccer in 60.